Wow, what a night that was last night. I was watching it, a 3 overtime victory for San Diego State women's basketball program to get them into the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2012. Two huge wins in this Mountain West tournament. They knocked off the number 1 seed UNLV, and then they knock off the number 2 seed Wyoming to get this triple overtime 72-68 win in Las Vegas. Now, the San Diego State men's team, they start off their Mountain West tournament today, so it seems like there was maybe some crossover there with some men's fans watching the women's game, which was awesome. Um, I do want to like immediately off the bat shout out to Kim Villalobos's dad and family and just the fans that were around because they kept showing that shot on the broadcast and they were super pumped up. So that's awesome. I know I don't talk about the women's team a ton, and to be quite honest, it's because I'm not watching every game, and so that's not fair to me to be, giving thoughts on something that I'm not watching. Um, but this was truly an incredible night for this program, and they deserve to be talked about. I don't know how much they're going to be talked about around town today because they're not the Aztecs men's program, but I don't care, to be quite honest. I want to talk about them, and they deserve to be talked about with the season that they have had, and them going to the NCAA tournament. And now this is 3 consecutive 20-plus win seasons for this Aztecs women's program, under the leadership of Stacey Terry Hudson. 25-9 was their record this year, 11-7 in conference. You know, if you want to make the tournament, you probably want to be better in conference play than 11-7, but they won the tournament, this tournament, and that's all that matters to get into March Madness. And again, knocking off UNLV and Wyoming on a neutral floor, that's a tough thing to do. And especially if you were watching last night's game, Wyoming is a tough team to play. They kept hitting shot after shot. When San Diego State was up, late in the game, in a couple of the overtime periods, Wyoming would come back. San Diego State would be up by like 5 points, and Wyoming would come right back with free throws or making a layup or making a big three. And so this was a big fight, and San Diego State showed how much they wanted to get to that tournament. And there were some players that I fell in love with watching here in this game, and there's some great stories that came out of this game and just this season for this Aztecs program, in general. And before getting to those stories, I did want to shout out some of the great just performances on the night from San Diego State. Um, and I have to start with Veronica Sheffy. I have to. She played almost 51 minutes, pretty much 51 minutes out of the 55 in this game. That's incredible. I mean, I know it was Mountain West tournament championship game and you're going to give it your all, but that's a long time to be out there on the floor. And she made huge shots. It seemed like she was making, especially late, it seemed like she was making every shot, draining threes, down, under the basket, fadeaways. I mean, just making, there was one play, I think it was in overtime or maybe late in the fourth or the late in regulation, where she just stopped right in her tracks, made a Wyoming defender look terrible, and then drained it. So huge, so huge. And then just the confidence, you can tell how confident she was going into this game and into this tournament, really. After the game, when she was talking, um, to, I think it was Ashley Nicole Moss from the CBS Sports broadcast, and then in the post game presser as well. Man, she's fun to watch. She's fast, athletic, can do a little bit of everything for this team. So I'm definitely a Veronica Sheffy fan after watching that last night. And then Callie Clark, holy cow, she was not a starter. The starter was Adriana Quezada, and she had a conversation with Stacey Terry Hudson before the game, and they both agreed, like, yeah, it's best for Callie Clark to get the start. And she played 49 plus minutes in this game, 6 for 10. Look at this line: 17 rebounds, 12 points. And then I saw that it was the first time. I want to get the actual stat correct, but it was the first time in a century that this had happened, Let me find it here. Here it is from the UT article. Bill Center wrote Clark, who usually comes off the bench but started Wednesday to defend Fertig, who, by the way, Mountain West Player of the Year. So not only did she score some points, but she came up huge in these moments against the best player in the conference. Became the only Division One player this century to have 17 rebounds, 6 steals, and 3 blocks in a tournament game. Like incredible. And even if you weren't watching the game, but you go back, watch the highlights, and I think it's in there when she made a shot down at the end of their court and then came back down, blocked the shot, and in midair grabbed the ball. So it's not like it went out of bounds and it was still Wyoming possession, but just one of those incredible plays where you block it and then you immediately get the ball still. But yeah, she went off, and that's awesome. And then there's obviously the story of the hometown player, Naomi, and hopefully I don't botch this, but Naomi Paganan Pongoniban. I'm gonna have to say that like 5 times to get that correct. But she played over 46, almost 47 minutes in this game. 7 for 14 from the field, 50% from the field in this game. She ends up scoring 17 points. And she's a freshman guard out of La Jolla Country Day. So, hey, they produced some good guards or what? Yeah, they have. Kelsey Plum, um, man, I'm blanking on the name. Tahina Paupo went to Oregon, now at South Carolina. Feels like she's been there forever. But yeah, this is another one. So happy for Naomi, obviously. We know on the men's side, Kima Ferrari, obviously he's a fan favorite, but he's not playing a bunch of minutes. She's playing, definitely playing and making a huge impact on this team. So, and she's a freshman. So we're going to get her for years, and hopefully more people start watching the Aztecs women's team. I watch them, you know, the good thing about the women's team is they are easy to watch if you think about it. I know it's not on television, but usually they're on the Mountain West Network and you just log on to your computer or phone or whatever to the website and it's right there. It's free. It's pretty easy. And so I watch every once in a while when I can, when I see that it's on, because the coverage isn't there like it is for the men's. So to be quite honest, sometimes I just don't see that they're playing, and then I'm like, oh, they're playing. But they beat Wisconsin earlier this year. Obviously, beat UNLV here, beat Wyoming, and so they deserve this. It's awesome. And for someone like Stacey Terry Hudson, who's been here for a long time, and I got to give credit to JD Wicker and San Diego State for keeping the faith in Stacey Terry Hudson because she started off her first 5 years here. No, 6, 7, actually 8. My bad. First 8, no 9, 9 years were losing seasons. 2013-14 season, 13 and 17. The 14-15 season, 12 and 19. The 15-16 season, 12 and 19. 16 and 17 season, 11 and 19. Same thing for the 17 and 18 season. 18 and 19 season. 14 and 18 was the record. The 19-20 season, 14 and 17. 2020-2021 season, Aztecs went 7 and 17. And then her last losing season was 21-22 season where they went 15 and 16. And then since then it's been 23 and 11, 22 and 13 and 25 and 9. That's incredible. I mean, think about it. They went from Beth Burns, who went 25 and 7 in the 11-12 season. That was their last tournament appearance since this year. And then the year after that, Beth Burns last year at San Diego State, 27 and 7, and then it went to losing records for the next 9 years. But the Aztecs kept with Stacey Terry Hudson. That's probably a hard thing to do when you're not seeing the wins on the floor. But they kept faith, and sure looks like it's paying off. And she talked about loyalty in her post game, doing things the right way, and it sure seems like they've done that. And shout out to someone like Kim Villalobos, who has been with this program. This is her 5th season with this program. So she has stayed, and she's getting rewarded for it in her last year as they send her off. That's amazing. That's awesome. So hopefully through this video, I've kinda inspired you to pay attention to this Aztecs women's team, especially during this tournament run, and give them the support that they deserve. Um, but that was a fun ending to watch. I mean, just back and forth. Yeah, Veronica Sheffy missed that one at one of the first 2 overtime periods, missed what could have been a game-winning jumper, but she was so fun to watch at the end in that game. Again, it seemed like other than that shot, it seemed like she made every other shot. Callie Clark, again, great story. Wasn't a starter and then has that game in the biggest game that she's played at San Diego State. Um, Villalobos didn't have the best game, but at the end was better. And Sheffy made big free throws there at the end to lengthen that lead and make sure that Wyoming didn't make that comeback. Um, and then obviously there's that San Diego story with Naomi who went to La Jolla Country Day. So some great stories here. I'm going to be following them obviously in this NCAA tournament. We'll see what happens with the men's team in the Mountain West Conference tournament. I think they're going to be in anyway, but they've got a game against Boise this afternoon at 2:30 on CBS Sports Network. And that would be incredible for San Diego basketball. If we know San Diego State women are going to be in, San Diego State men, I assume, are going to be in. UCSD is going to make it. That's 3 basketball schools that will get into the tournament this year. That's pretty dang cool. So it's an exciting time for basketball in this city here in the month of March.